Delving deep into shadows, uncovering the light. Guess with solid minds, no tales of the strange. In Sasquatch Secrets, they'll begin to rearrange. Truth's the vibe, we're on a quest. Look beyond the trees, what do you see? Factual stories redefining history. No myths, no magic, let's break the mold. With every word spoken, the wonders unfold. Footprints in the snow, not just a myth. Data and research was sift through the pit. Tales of a creature, but science leads the way. Nikki's quest for knowledge, come join and stay.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Colon. It is so glad to see you guys, which just hopping in that chat over there. I hope everybody had a happy Easter and a good week and getting ready to start the new week. It's kind of weird weather. You know, it's kind of cold in the morning and dusty in the afternoon. And right now it's storming out there too. But we've got massive sandstorms here in the Southwest. And that is not fun. When I changed the air filter yesterday up here on the top, it was so dirty and it had only been a couple of months. So it's really bad out here. Bad weather, giving me respiratory issues. But let me see. Let me get rid of a bunch of stuff I have open here. Okay. So we have got a great show for you tonight, and my guests are lined up there, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start the evening out because it's going to be a good one. So let's bring on my first guest.
I like the
Hello. And yeah, you know what? It took me like half an hour to find the right song for you.
You know, it's funny because I wasn't much of a country guy until I started hanging around with Aleks at these expeditions and campouts.
Yeah.
And now every time we're there, I'm like, Aleks, put the twang on.
I was gonna call you and I was gonna ask, I go, what's your favorite type of music?
You know, I'm usually, I grew up, you know, listening to like the 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
into the new metal. So I'm more of a heavy guy, but I like everything. So
yeah,
I enjoyed that twang. That was nice.
Good to know. That's good to know for the future. But I kind of like this one because it kind of went with the background there.
It goes with West Virginia.
It does. It really does. But thank you for coming on, and let's bring on my next guest.
Hey there.
Alex, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. How you guys doing? How you doing?
Good. You guys had quite the adventure recently. A 10-day Sasquatch investigation going on in West Virginia. And you both put out material. The videos were awesome. You know, I really enjoyed both of them. And it's getting me antsy to go out there. You know, the weather's still not great over here. And there was even snow on the ground up in the mountains over here. So I was like, ooh, it's getting almost time, you know, for me to go out there and wander around. But so it's good to see that you guys went out there and for such a long period of time. You know, that's a good chunk of time.
Yeah, it was quite a journey because it was, you know, I think we were in West Virginia. Was it for 10 days?
Pretty much 10 days, and then
because we did also a few nights in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey on the way back.
Oh wow!
So we went and linked up with some people there, in the Pine Barrens for like basically from like Friday to Sunday, that kind of thing. So just another couple days in the Pine Barrens. So it was a long trip. It felt like 3 or 4 different trips. It did. But I was looking at the footage because my video was only the first like 2 or 3 days. I think Brian's was maybe the first 3 or 4.
Yeah, the first
first 4.
First 4.
Yeah. So it was a whirlwind. I'm like, oh geez, I forgot this even happened because so much goes on, and we had rain the entire time, as I'm sure you heard us complaining about plenty of times in the videos.
yeah. I'm gonna get into that for sure as part of our discussion. But just to let everybody know that you can find Brian Garvey on his channel, Brian and Chewie Go Hiking. I've put all their links down in the description for you guys to find. But please go over there and check out his adventures with Chewie. They're really, my favorite time is to put them on in the morning when I'm having my coffee. You know, it's perfect. And to dream, right? Because a lot of us can't do that heavy trekking that you guys do. You know, you guys are really getting in deep and taking those long hikes. I'm a good maybe an hour in, hour out. That's all I can do, you know, and I'm done for the day. But I've got Aleks Petakov's Adventures. That's where you can find Alex's stuff, and be sure to go over there and subscribe to that. You can find his latest that he just dropped today was on Small Town Monsters, of course. And I put the Bigfoot Journal on here because I wasn't sure if Mike Lucci was going to be able to make it. He can't. He promised he wants to come on, though. So we're going to figure out a show for him to come on and chit chat with me about. But I've also put that link down there for the Untold Radio Network, where he's got
some great stuff on there that he does. He's really good with the data. He does a lot of data deep dives.
His research is on points.
Yes.
Really gotta watch that. You know, he's associated with the CARC Universal as well, CARC. So so I wanted to include him. Here was Brian's release earlier yesterday. Was Saturday.
Hey Brian, how long did it take you to put that thumbnail together?
Hey, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, the days I wasted messing with the new AI app.
Yeah.
Days. I was bothering these guys so much. I'm like,
he was texting me and he's like, hey, what do you think about this one? I'm like, it looks cool. And then this goes on for multiple hours. And then he's like, you know, I'm just going to go with the first one I sent. I'm like, poor guy wasted all this time doing that.
And it's funny because Nikki wanted a couple of copies of the Knox. So I'm scrolling through Mike's texts, me and him on our text, and I'm scrolling through all the pictures I sent him, and I had to keep going like this, and I'm like, he must be so fed up with me. He probably doesn't want to be on the show.
Oh man, that's funny because we all do that now. You know, with the help of AI, we are always changing up all our stuff and putting stuff together. Here's the Bigfoot Beyond the Trail series you'll find on Small Town Monsters that you had a premiere today. And
it was earlier this afternoon.
It was a really good turnout. You know, I think you had over 600 people, you know, watching that. So it was great. And, you know, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, we try to have fun with it for sure. I mean, we've kind of the last 3 years now, really, this crew of people, we've been kind of doing these crazy adventures and having a lot of unfortunate events in April, because we always like to go out in April because it's before stuff starts, you know, before there's a lot of people in a lot of these places. But when you're dealing with national forests, you get these closed gates. This is the 3rd April in a row where we've dealt with closed gates. We actually got locked into a gate this time in a campsite. I mean, you can't make it up. It was like absurd, the amount of stuff we were dealing with.
And it's funny because I want to film it, but I'm so angry at what's going on.
You don't film it. You're just like, yeah.
I don't even want to film it. There's so much.
What if nobody showed up to let you out? You know?
Well, we would have had a way out. We'll leave it at that. We're not going to go into any specifics. We've got some experience at this point, so we'll just end it at that.
No gates are stopping us now. Let's just say that.
It was unfortunate because we just didn't know we weren't supposed to be in this area, and the gate was open, and then we were locked in. So yeah, because a lot of these, and it's like, especially in West Virginia at that time of year, I mean, there's not a lot of snow in these places, so it's not like up here where we're at in the Northeast, where some of these places, even into May, there's still snow in the higher elevation. So I understand why there's a gate, like, because people will get stuck, like the radar base. We've done videos on in the past. So yeah, it's frustrating because, again, you want to get like the early bird gets the worm sort of thing. We want to get out there. There's not a lot of people camping and doing this stuff in April because it's still too cold for most people. So why not get out there in the spring? Because I think that's when stuff starts moving around. Other animals move around. Like, that's normal up here. So hypothetically, if these things are following prey or whatever, why wouldn't they move around too, right? So that's kind of the philosophy we take, because in the winter, I mean, I don't know, not much is moving around really, at least from the other known wildlife around here.
Right. So, setting the scene here, where in West Virginia did this journey take place? And I went ahead and brought up the map that you had there, Alex, on yours, to show us where in West Virginia you were right along the border of Virginia and West Virginia.
Yeah, so we started basically, if you look at Elkins, there's that little corner of green that goes like north of Elkins. We started up there and we kind of made our way down. Now, this is my pitch for why I think West Virginia is probably one of the best states in the entire East Coast for potential Bigfoot habitat and just habitat in general. West Virginia is the third most forested state in the U.S. after Maine and my home state of New Hampshire. That's 1 and 2. West Virginia is number 3. And it is the only state that's entirely within the Appalachian Mountain kind of chain and the socio-cultural region called Appalachia, right? It's the only state that's all these other states around there, like Virginia, that western part, you can see the George Washington National Forest. That's just like that little corner of it there that goes, it's a pretty good amount. Like, there's millions of acres there, but it's not the whole state. Whereas West Virginia, I mean, I've heard of sightings out of there for years, for all over the state. I mean, anywhere you go, even in small parts where there aren't like big mountains, you have these hills and these hollers, and it's really slow moving in West Virginia. Like, to drive from north to south, it takes you like 4 hours because you're going through all these mountain passes, and it's a very difficult place to actually operate, and it's extremely low population. It's like just over 1 million people. That's very similar to New Hampshire. What's that?
I noticed, I know exactly what you're talking about, moving on these small roads that just are very windy, because I went to Virginia and traveled from Stanton down to, oh gosh, I always want to say the name wrong.
Roanoke, Blacksburg.
I went to visit the Waltons Mountain thing,
Okay.
And that road that looked like it would take me half an hour to get there took me like 3 hours winding down that Blue Ridge all the way down there.
Oh yeah, and they can make you sick if you're not careful. There was one night where we were driving late night on these roads, and I was trying to take a nap in the back, and I woke up nauseous, so that was not fun. I was like 4 a.m. Oh geez.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I know what you mean about that.
That's just my pitch. Why I think it's extremely low population. The wildlife is abundant, and and just specifically the Monongahela National Forest there, which is just shy of like I think it's a little over 1 million acres, but it's linked to the George Washington and Jefferson National Forest. Together, they make up almost 3 million acres of protected land. One of the largest areas of national forest on the East Coast. And each of those national forests have like 5 or 6 congressionally designated wilderness areas, which are areas that have been deemed no motorized vehicles, drones, anything allowed, only foot traffic or horse in certain areas, So those are like areas that are supposed to be kept pristine, while other parts of the national forest, technically they can have campsites and logging and motorized vehicles. Those areas are designated as like just pure zones, So between the two of them, there's almost a dozen. So it's an amazing place, and it just follows the Appalachian Mountains up and down. I'm working on this series called the Appalachian Bigfoot Files, which covers different parts of this mountain chain and how they're interconnected. And it's the habitat is amazing, and there's so much of it. And this area, I think, is one of the best in like that central part of the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, well, the photo opportunities you guys had were just amazing. Looking at those smoky mountains in the background, and of course, you had all that weather, so it kind of made it look real ominous, you know,
Yeah.
and spooky. A little bit spooky out there. It kind of seemed like, you know, Blair Witchy out there in some points, but yeah, it's still beautiful, very beautiful. And that's, you know, part of that whole the dense forest. They had creeks and rivers and everything running through there.
Everywhere,
And
yeah.
I was just amazed at how wet everything was, you know.
Very lush. And that area we were in the first kind of few days is, they call it jokingly, I mean, they call it Little Canada, because it's actually an area that has a lot more spruce and pine trees than other parts of the southern Appalachian Mountains. Like Brian, I know him and I were talking about, man, this could be somewhere in New Hampshire. This could be Maine. Because typically up here in our neck of the woods, there's a lot more of that sort of like semi-boreal as you're getting further and further north. You know, not quite boreal forest like up in maybe Quebec or Ontario, Canada, north of us, but we have a lot of spruce and pine and that sort of stuff. You know, Maine's called the pine tree state. Whereas if you go to the southern Appalachians, like Smoky Mountains, North Carolina, other parts of Virginia, it's very lush and green. There's actually the rainforest there, semi-temperate rainforest in like the Smokies. So it's very lush, and you get a lot of these rhododendrons. Whereas this particular part of West Virginia and Dolly Sods, for whatever reason, geologically, it's on this high plateau, one of the highest plateaus on the East Coast. And for whatever reason, the weather's right and allows these trees that normally would only be found further north to exist there. So they kind of call it Little Canada, which I always thought was really cool. Kind of reminded me of the areas we go to in the Northeast.
What was the elevation you guys were working at?
I know Brian keeps track of that pretty well. I mean,
what was
like,
the highest point? What was the highest point we were
well,
at?
it's the elevation crazy. Yeah. So you got Spruce Knob, which is like 4,000 something feet. That's the highest mountain in West Virginia, which doesn't sound like a lot, even to us, because, you know, our highest mountain is 6,000 feet up here. But it's extremely, you'd be surprised how rugged it is. You can see in the video. But the Canaan Valley and Dolly Sods, I think, is about 2,600, maybe 3,000. But it's the highest like elevated plateau east of the Mississippi, because it's like a sustained area. But yeah, so the elevation gain is not like crazy. You're not going to get altitude sickness or anything.
That's good. That's good, because I can do that. You know, here I'm at 9,000 feet I camp at, and it takes me a day to acclimate before I can even do anything. And it's like Jonathan from Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks. He's always telling me, take your oxygen with you. You know, it'll help you. So yeah, that's something I always have to keep, you know, in consideration when I'm going out to different places. Is that's the first thing I look at. But one of the things also is, you know, the challenges of the terrain. And many places, like you were saying in British Columbia, when I went up there this last summer, when you walk off trail, it's a whole different world. You sink like a foot down. If you get off trail, I couldn't maneuver it, you know. Even Brent and Trackway here, you know, can testify that if you wandered off a trailhead, you were really dealing with a lot of built up foliage and, you know, ground stuff. So it wasn't good. You couldn't really make a trail or go off trail in some of these places because it's just so thick. You just, you know, your foot just goes deep into the ground. And I know in what I can't remember whose video it was, but you guys came upon a stream that was going down into a hole in the ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of that. You know, you have to be careful where you're walking and what you're doing, because you never know when you could just slip right into one of those holes.
Very dangerous, because I was out there with the dog, and I don't want the dog going anywhere near the sinkhole. So as we were just walking around it, I put my foot down and it just kept going. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
wow. I'm like, there could be a hole right. I could be standing
system
on a hole, and I just
Yeah.
took my foot out, and I'm like, I'm going back up the hill.
Well, that's what's so crazy about that part of the Appalachian Mountains. Once you get kind of like Pennsylvania and down, they have these crazy cave systems. I mean, some of the deepest caves on Earth are found, deepest and longest caves like in Kentucky and Tennessee, I think has the most caves in anywhere in the world, or especially in the US. So that could have been a little cave system because that water was going down somewhere. And we were like 10 miles from a pretty well-known tourist attraction called Smoke Hole Caverns, which I've been to before, which is like these, this tourist caves where they have the walkways inside and they light everything up. Used to be used by smugglers back in the day, like during Prohibition and in the Civil War. So there's a lot of those cave systems down there. Like in the next videos that we're both doing, we go to this really giant cave that's found in the national forest there. That's like over a mile long that an underground river goes through, and you can like hike through the cave. And it's just absolutely impressive just knowing that could just be anywhere under you. And most of them probably are undiscovered, right? Like the ones that are known of are the easy ones to get to, but we're just hiking around the woods and find a random, might not even be big enough for a human to get through, but if you're able to get down there somehow, who knows, it could open up into a giant chamber. I mean, it's really hard to know.
Yeah, that's how a lot of these work. I mean, just like Carlsbad Cavern here, it starts off on a little hole, and then you get down there and it's like a stadium opens up.
Crazy.
It's ginormous.
Totally wild.
And but yeah, that's part of the whole investigation, right? That Bigfoot, do they live in these cave systems? Is that where they hide in the winter? All these speculations start happening, and that gets included. A lot of people are saying that that's how they can get from place to place without being seen, or can disappear quickly.
Right.
And we just don't know.
I'm skeptical of that. I'll say that right out the bat. I've always kind of been pretty doubtful of that, just because I think, especially a lot of these caves, again, like you mentioned, a lot of them start out really small, hard to get into. Especially imagine getting stuck inside a cave like that and you can't, or if you're trapped and there's people coming. Animals are known to get stuck in caves and die in certain other caves. That's actually how a lot of fossils have been discovered over the centuries, is from caves. That creates an atmosphere that allows for the preservation of fossils and bones. So, I don't know. The caves and mines, I've heard people say that. I think they're so dangerous of an environment. My lights are flickering. There's like super windy outside. So hopefully if I just disappear, means my power has gone out a couple times. So hopefully it doesn't. Okay. But just at the caves, I'm pretty skeptical. I think the most caves that might be utilized is like, especially in this, as we saw in West Virginia, there's all the limestone that hangs over, and it creates these really amazing hangover caves that other animals are bedding in. Bears and other things are burrowing in these kinds of environments. So I could totally, there's places I saw, hey, I would camp here if I had to, right? So I think these things, why not use one of those to kind of hunker down, or in a very secluded area, just stay hidden and use this little rock overhang cave. I don't know.
So with the weather that you guys experience, is this pretty typical for this time of year? You're hitting the spring.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Rain.
I think on almost every trip we've done in April, the weather has been.
You have to worry about it. April showers.
April showers for sure.
Last year we were in Pennsylvania last year, and I know for a fact it was a lot colder because we had snow even instead of rain, which I honestly,
and we did
prefer snow.
We got snow one night on this trip too.
Yes. Yep.
Oh wow!
But then it ended up being a gorgeous day. And then I had a West Virginia person comment, "That's a typical day in West Virginia."
Yeah, I think that was because we were at such a high elevation. We were camped under Spruce Knob, because once we got down in the valley, like there was no snow really.
Yeah.
But it was nice that it was finally sunny. That was one of our few very sunny, warm days. But I guess it's just hit or miss. One of those things you got to deal with. But again, I think the wildlife is moving around during this time period, so why not get out there? It can be a challenge dealing with the rain, and it sucks being wet all the time, and you're in and out. Like we were mostly car camping on this trip. Like we barely even set up the tents because no one wants to set up a tent in the rain. Like that's the worst.
Right.
Unless you have to. Like if you don't have if you're backpacking out in the middle of nowhere, and obviously we've done plenty of these kinds of trips, and setting up a tent in the rain. You'll do it if it's raining fire. I mean, just to get out of the weather. But when you got your car available and your car camping, it's just, let's just stay in the dry place instead of, purposefully putting ourselves out in the rain, So yeah.
Well, and that's part of the whole deal, right? Making sure you have the right gear for that type of weather. And I'm sure you guys, well, you looked like you were all, had your raincoats and your boots and everything ready to go, but still feeling soggy for 10 days. I don't know. That's a lot to take.
Yeah.
10 days. I mean, there's no access to showers where we are. So you're embracing the suck. I mean, you're dew wiping. It's a lot. I mean, it was to the point where I'm like, if it's gonna rain hard one day, I'm just gonna stand out in it and just take a bath, take a shower.
Well, it's such a different type of I've had trips in summertime when it's really hot and humid where I don't shower for a few days, and you just start smelling like so much worse. At least when it's colder a little bit, you don't get that stink. Like the last time over the summer when I was out in Washington, we're doing a bunch of stuff in the Pacific Northwest, and I spent a few nights with Jay Birch there. I know you've been to that spot, Nikki, too. And that was like the tail end of a week-long trip I was on, and like you're sweaty and it's so hot out, like you just feel how gross you are. This is a little bit better because it's, again, you're not as sweating as much during the day. Because
I think it was only just the hiking day we sweat.
The hiking day,
that was it. Other than that, it was chilly nights and really perfect weather days. Besides the rain, I mean, temperature wise.
Oh yeah, not too hot. Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, Mrs. Tracker says tarps are your friends. Yep, we used a few tarps. We had our little tent canopy thing, and we would Brian and I both had Toyota RAV4, so we would put the backs, they open the same way into this like hatch, and we would put the canopy right in between. So just so you have a place to kind of hide out from the rain and hang out, everyone could congregate under it. So you do what you can on these trips, because I mean, we spend so much time planning these things. Like this was months in the making for all of us, and weeks before, hey, what are we doing for food? Everyone talks about what they're bringing and what the plan is, what we're going to do. And then, to have crappy weather like that, it sucks, but what are you going to do? You're already in there. You're already kind of embracing it. And you just gotta go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you really do. And having had 2 shindigs now, it's all about the planning, and you got to move forward. Once you start buying spots and airplane tickets and all this stuff, you got to go through with all this. How did the equipment go in all that bad weather? Did you lose any?
Brian has some stories about that.
I was already thinking about it because we're talking about all the stuff that goes wrong.
I'm like, oh geez, Chewie cam.
And we're halfway through the trip, and I'm looking around for after we hiked all day. We had such beautiful footage of Seneca Rock and the chimney tops. It's just it's probably, out of all the hikes I've done, it's definitely in my top 5 of view wise of hikes.
Yeah.
So we get back to the camp, and the next day I'm looking around, and I'm like, I can't find my GoPro. And we carry around so much gear, and I have a lot of gear for Chewie as well. So I start tearing everything apart. I'm ripping everything apart. I'm getting angry. The guys are coming over to help, and I'm trying to keep my cool.
Tore apart every part of his car, everything.
It was probably a half hour of me just ready to just quit and be like, "Oh, this sucks."
The whole trip, lost the whole trip, basically, all the footage, on that.
So I'm like, "Oh, that's such a it's such a downer." And then I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna look through the snack bag." Luca already looked through the snack bag. Damn you, Luca. Last thing I pull out the GoPro, I was like, I'm jogging around, hopping up and down. It was
buried under some stuff. It must have fallen in under the snacks. But
it was just that late night. And it's so hard on these trips to keep every little thing, because you have so much equipment and it's so hard, and you're constantly moving it around, and especially in the rain. It's
exactly. You're sleeping in your vehicle, so you got to rearrange stuff. Yeah,
you're constantly. I'm rearranging the vehicle twice a day because I sleep in the back. I got to move everything to the front, vice versa. That we drive. We do a lot of driving, and these like we were talking about, those windy roads. So you got to make sure things are packed really well. So there's a lot that goes to all these trips. You just get to, you guys get to see most of the good stuff, but there's a lot of crap you got to deal with too.
Yeah, a lot of people, well, many, Trackway and Grasshopper.
Yeah, Trackway gets it. Yeah.
So, how much footage we get, hours and hours and hours of stuff, and we make it into 1 hour little video, or half an hour. And we don't include a lot of stuff. Granted, a lot of stuff doesn't happen,
Right.
You don't want to, you don't want to bore people either. You got to kind of keep it going and kind of keep it paced and not just show everything.
Right. You're not showing every moment. Like, a lot of it's documenting the journey. Like, that's kind of, especially with my, Bigfoot Beyond the Trail series, it's always been more about the journey, and if stuff happens, obviously we highlight that. If it doesn't, hey, it's still a journey into the wilderness. But, speaking of rain and gear, that's obviously an area that you got to worry about. So one of the things we had to do was, with the thermals, thermals and rain just don't go well together, right? And the thermal I have, this Pulsar, I had it, you might have seen in the video, like I have it on a monopod tripod, and I wrap it in a plastic bag so that when I'm not using it, it's at least protected. And thermals can actually see through trash bags. I didn't have a trash bag for that one, so I just used the bag, but I could just kind of peek through and kind of open it up a little bit and then just keep it protected from the rain. But Brian, you had a little fun incident with the with your Phasm cam with the rain, right?
The one that you put on Chewie?
I have at least one weird thing happen to me a day on these trips.
A day, right? It's like if something doesn't happen to Brian, it's unusual.
We got Chewie now. Chewie
co-host.
There he is.
He's
Chewie.
Chewie. Snuggle mode now. So.
Oh, there you go.
It's because he wants a cookie. He does that stuff. He's such a spoiled bugger. But yeah, I had a problem with my Phasm cam. I'm still having an issue with the Phasm cam, but it was the first, and it's a bummer because we wanted to add it into this part of the video, and we'll have it in for the next one. I'm just going to give Alex my card so he can just do his thing with it. But I left it out in the downpour. I just one night it started downpouring, and we hurried up and got in the vehicles.
It was the
and
one
I just
left
it out all night, and I lost doesn't have any more speaker. The speaker's junk.
Man.
But I have.
It's like a night vision GoPro, basically.
Yeah, it's a very cheap night vision GoPro. It's like a couple $100. So if you want something that you can take out for at night, it's good. But it's
cool. I mean, it's like, I think originally it was like ghost hunting people made this.
It is. It's for mostly ghost hunters. Yeah.
Because GoPros suck at night. They're just, you can't.
Awful.
So.
I have to blast my I have such high vision. Alex, I'm always blinding Alex.
I know. I'm always like stunned when Brian's around.
I want a very high powered one for when I use my GoPro, because I can at least, like you said, people just like people that can't go out there, kind of like they want to feel like they're there. That's kind of like what I kind of want to bring in my videos, is like you're kind of there. I want you to feel like you're there with me.
Right.
So. Yeah, it's okay. The Phasm cam's good. Now it's a Chewie Phasm cam. I gave up on it. So
yeah, gear and rain is always a lot of fun. But you have some gears better than others in the rain, and again, we have enough stuff that we can keep stuff protected, and we have more gear than we need on these trips 9 times out of 10. Because when you're car camping, you can have so much more with you. When you're flying somewhere, you're so limited to what you could bring. So it's that's something I've run into, because just doing these videos the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of times I'm flying places, but a lot of times I'm driving places. And obviously I much prefer the driving, because you just can have so much more with you. It's a little more comfortable too.
Yeah, for sure. Having your own stuff is important,
Yeah.
And
it's like you got to watch every ounce, because I fly a lot. I'm always watching every ounce, and sometimes I'll even get a media. You can get a media pass, and you can get you pay more, but you get 100 pounds in your suitcase. And I've done that in the past too, and it's just such a pain because you got to watch every ounce. Whereas I'm in the car, I'm like, I don't really care. Yeah, let's bring all 3 sleeping bags. We can use the other 2 as a sleeping pad to put on top of your sleeping pad. Why not?
Yeah,
it's almost like glamping. We call it glamping sometimes
too. I load up the back of the truck, man. It's packed. I take everything. I'm very comfortable when I'm out there. That's for sure.
Comfort is definitely key for sure.
Comfort is key. Brian's got a good setup because
I think I got the out of all of us. I think I got the best car camping
no doubt. But it's funny because he has a setup because his RAV4 is like a 2014, 15, right?
2015. My Tacoma is the same. So I have both 2015 vehicles,
and I have the same setup. So I have 2018 RAV4, and then I have a 2022 Tacoma. So
it's so funny.
We have like the same setup. So, but the RAV is what I usually drive because it has way better mileage than the Tacoma.
Yeah.
We're doing local stuff like here in the New England area within like 4 or 5 hour drive. We'll take the Tacomas because it's just, you can get into so many better places. And I'll actually even take the back seats out. You can remove them, just bolt them out. You have that much more space. Whereas with the RAV4s, his setup is cool because he can put his seats flush. So he can put his seats flush and put a bed back there. And mine, unfortunately, is a hybrid. I got it at a time when I was commuting to and from Boston for work. And the hybrid made a lot of sense for me back then in 2018 when I got it. But because of the hybrid batteries in the back, it has this bump and you can't put the seats down flush. So when I sleep in my RAV4, I have to have the seats I sleep in the driver's seat and just put it all the way down as far as it'll go. And I put a little like pillow under me. And I sleep like a baby in there. Brian looks at it and he's like, my back hurts just looking at it. But I like it. I don't mind it. But obviously a better setup would be like what Brian
Him and his brother, they fall right to sleep.
Yeah.
Like little angels.
Gosh, I can't do that. It takes me forever.
It's
because if I'm just doing an overnight, then I'll sleep in the back cab of the truck. I've got the setup where that blows up the back to a bit. And that's fine for overnight, but I don't really sleep very well. Keep thinking Bigfoot's going to look in the back window. But
it's so strange because I think that sleeping in the car for that long messed up my back or something in a weird, good way. I don't know how to describe it, right? So we had slept for 9 nights in a row in the cars. And then we got in a hotel one of the last mornings on our way out of Virginia before we're heading up to New Jersey for the last couple of nights of the trip. We got a hotel. Everyone was, we just needed to shower and kind of freshen up. Yeah. And I woke up in the morning with a sore back from the hotel bed. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I get home a few days later, and my first couple nights in my bed at home, I also had a sore back from that. So, and then I was at my buddy's house on Friday night. I was in Connecticut, and I slept in his guest room. I woke up with a sore back, and I'm like, I feel like my back is now tuned to the seats, being like the incline of the seat.
You need to put a RAV seat in your bed.
I know. I'm like, I got to sleep in a car seat in my house or something. It's so strange.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is really important out there, right? Is to be comfortable so that you can get on with your next day. Yeah. But what's going on? Why is that? My chat is not there. It is just caught up for some reason. So if anytime you guys have any questions out there in the chat, please be sure to put those questions in all caps so I can see them, and we'll get those questions out to the boys. So yeah, you have to kind of can't plan for unexpected things, but it's good to at least, be prepared for the weather and, know about your terrain. And you guys had both been in this area before, correct? Or was it just
your first time?
This is my first. This is my first.
That was your first. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been to West Virginia a few times. It's one of my favorite states on the East Coast. I mean, aside from obviously the New Hampshire's, I'm biased, of course, but as Brian knows, Brian's basically an honorary New Hampshire resident. The mountains up here, that's where he does a lot of his videos and a lot of hiking. But West Virginia is so incredible. I've been there multiple times. I mean, it's a very unique state. The history, as I mentioned, the terrain is incredible, but the history of the people, the mines, all the struggles, that all the stuff that happened there. And then you have all these really weird cryptid stories, not just Bigfoot. Like there's plenty of Bigfoot stuff, and it goes back pretty far there. You have a lot of these small communities. They'll have stories of like they call them like the old men of the mountains kind of. It's very different. The wild man stories that goes back. But then you have stuff like the Mothman incident, very bizarre. It's like, I don't really consider that a cryptid. That's more of like there's UFO, weird government stuff. Then you had the Flatwoods Monster, which is this guy right here called Braxy, the Flatwoods Monster, which is like the most unique looking alien I think ever seen. whatever it is, right? It's from the 1950s near Flatwoods, West Virginia. My cat's actually named after Braxy because I adopted him from the Flatwoods Monster Museum. Fun story. And I got this little Lego there when we were actually on the trip now, a little Braxy Lego.
Oh, look at that.
It is a very strange, and what's crazy about that story is, you don't have to believe it, obviously. It's a very unusual set of events, and like this mechanical robotic looking creature, and had this mist that it emitted, and people felt sick after coming in contact with it. But it's this super classic 1950s UFO kind of story, that Cold War era. And then what's really interesting is you have the Green Bank Observatory in West Virginia, which we were not far from, which is this kind of observatory that supposedly they have used to communicate with extraterrestrials, or tried to, right? There's these giant satellites there to this day, and that observatory was set up almost right after this Flatwoods Monster event. So the government did that, and they chose West Virginia for some reason. So yeah, West Virginia is a really unique state. It's got a lot of cool history, and just so many different parts. But that part that we were in is my favorite, which is the national forest side, that Monongahela National Forest and Seneca Rocks. Like, that's just such a beautiful, beautiful part of the state.
Right. So every day you guys were planning on small hikes if you could, but did the weather actually stop you several days?
Yeah. No, we persevere. We embrace the suck.
Something me and Luca do whenever we get to a new campsite is we like to just hurry up and go for a hike. So we'll go hike around, just see what's around camp. And sometimes that could help us with noise, like it helped us on this trip when we heard like a crashing at night, and we didn't know. We thought someone fell down the face, and we're like, well, that could be from the rock, those we were just talking about, like those overhangs that could just, if it falls, it's going to crash through those trees, and it's going to just, and those pretty steep, some of those ravines are pretty steep, and it's just going to plow through anything it hits. So we kind of were thinking that might have been it on one of the noises we heard on one of the nights. But no, even in the rain, we'll still hike around. It has to be really bad. Like, it has to be pouring, like, for us to not want to go out.
Yeah. And what they do is a lot of times they'll go out and scout stuff in the daytime. And because sometimes on these trips, there's so many of us at camp. On this trip, we met up with a bunch of other local people and friends of mine that I know down there. And, like Luci had some people come out who were with BFRO from Kentucky. We met up with this guy, Jonathan Dodd, and his brother. Jonathan's actually an artist. He does a lot of like the Small Town Monsters artwork, and he's just a super talented. He's actually doing the Bigfoot kids book with Scott of the Bigfoot Mapping Project. Like, he did all the illustrations. Jonathan Dodd, amazing, talented guy, but he lives in Virginia. So like every time I'm down in that neck of the woods, him and his brother like hiking and camping. So I'm like, hey, come and meet us. And then we met up with other local researchers. So people like Charles Kimbrough, he makes a lot of these microphones that people use for like long duration Sasquatch recording stuff, like Chris Spencer uses, and other people. Les Odell, who's one of my favorite researchers from West Virginia, is just such a down to earth guy, and he gets some really great reports out of that, especially that eastern part of the state. So like, for example, when we got to one of those campsites, I want to go with Les because he wants to show me a spot where he's found some potential prints, and we'll go out there and I'll kind of film with him. And then Luca and Brian and the other guys go off and like just scout it out. So then when it comes to nighttime, they're like, well, we went up, there's this huge giant meadow up here. Maybe we should go up there at night. So we kind of are all doing sort of different stuff at different times, depending on what's going on. Because I'm working on multiple different videos and stuff at the same time. So it's cool to have a kind of a crew, and we're all pretty compatible. So even if we don't all make it on the same hike or the same area, like people are kind of, we'll go scout this area out, we'll go check this area out. So I think it really works pretty well.
Yeah, because Mike will go off, he'll put his audio stuff out, he'll put his cameras out, he'll go by, and then, like I said, Luca will get some footage of the area, and we'll just go scout around, and we're all doing something always. Yeah. We're never just sitting around not doing anything on these trips.
I think this is tough. So when people meet us or meet up with us, because we're always so go, we just like are never still. So I was like worried, because some of these people, because our plan too is like, okay, we're doing 2 nights here, then we're going to go to 2 hikes on the same day, and then spend another 2 nights in this location. So, I'm meeting up with some of these people that I don't know, can they keep up with that sort of schedule? So like, I think I even told Charles, I was like, yeah, man, I mean, we're going to be doing 2 hikes tomorrow. Like, if you don't want to do that with us, you can just, I can give you the coordinates for the camp and you can meet us there. And he's like, no, of course. And he had a great time coming with us. But, you know, it's like, we're very high energy and intense. So
yeah.
Very hard to keep up with us.
I learned that the first time I met Brent. The man does not sit down for crap. Okay. Yeah. He is always doing something, setting up a mic, putting up his cameras, going on the hike, getting B-roll footage. He is constantly. We're like, where's Brent? Has anybody seen Brent? You know, he comes in, he grabs a sandwich, and then he's back out, you know, and you don't know what he's doing.
You got to respect that. That's the way, you know, because it's like you're in these places for such a short period of time. I mean, you know, a week is really not a long time, right? And you're trying to go to multiple places. You want to maximize it. I'm the kind of person, when I go visit a new place, I want to try the local food. I want to try this. I want to hit this spot up, do this hike, you know, and a lot of people just go to one place and they want to sit in the same place for like a week. And that's fine. Totally understandable,
everybody has
right?
their own style. I kind of like that, you know, and it's nice if you guys talk, you know, and that's one thing we always talked about. If you have an agenda, do your thing. Don't worry about me. I know my limitations. And, you know, I don't feel bad for me if I say I'm staying back at camp because that's where I need to be.
Right.
I will cook a meal for you guys. Perfect.
And that's good that you know your limits, though, because we've run into people in the past that like have not told us about pre-existing health things that they have going on. And, you know, for us, it's like, we can go, all right, we're going to make breakfast at 10 a.m. and then we're not going to eat till like 9 p.m. Like, we'll have some Cliff Bars throughout the day. That's fine because we're on that daily grind, right? Whereas we've had people in the past who have been on little trips with us and, you know, they have like health conditions and they're like, I can't, they get sick. They can't keep up with it. I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, you got to tell us about that because that's not the first thing that's on our mind. Because
you can't say stuff on the last day.
Like don't be a hero. Like, just, it's totally fine, you know, to like, no one's gonna think you're weak just because you're saying, hey, like, I'd rather just do this or that. Because like at this, we're not trying to force anyone to do this stuff. Ultimately, it's, you know, even when it's just the 4 of us, me, Luca, Luci, and Brian, and obviously Chewie is the wingman and the mascot. Really, he's the mascot. He's the star. But you know, even when it's just us, like, we may have different things we want to do, and people go off and do their own thing. So
and for sure, you know, it's helpful when, you know, Brent and I have been friends for years and years and years. So he kind of looks out for me. And then, you know, meeting Bill Trackway, instantly, you know, I knew he would look out for me. And I push myself sometimes too much. But there are moments that I know, okay, I'm done for the day. You know, we hiked an hour in the morning, we hiked in 2 hours in the evening, or that one day Trackway, we did 3 hikes. Right. We did the morning pond one, then we did the Deer Lake Trail, and then we did it at night. So for me, that's a lot, you know? And so by the end of the day, I was like all cramped up and that's not something I normally do. And it was like a miserable night that night, but an experience I will never forget. Right. So that's important for everybody to be, you know, incommunicado, right? And tell everybody, you know, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Just like hoping to go to Bluff Creek in July and meet up with Tate and Ron and Glenn. I think Brent's going to be there. He's going to try to take Thomas Steenberg with him.
Nice.
And for, you know, it'll be a trip of a lifetime. Whoever.
Bluff Creek is awesome.
And I know that, you know, I'm like, told Tate, I go, I want to go. I go, but I can probably just make it down to the site and back, and then I'll be good to hang out at camp. And he goes, oh, actually, we drive to a bunch of spots too.
That's what's really, I was going to say, what's really cool about Bluff Creek is you got the Go Road, and you can just drive to these like Onion Mountain, Onion Lake. You can drive in a lot of different places and just post up because you're already in such a deep wilderness. That's why I did this whole documentary about the Go Road, because the first time I went out to Bluff Creek, I'm like, why is there a paved road in the middle of nowhere? Like, I was very disappointed actually until I didn't, because no one talks about the history of the Go Road and the fact that it's an abandoned highway that just comes to a dead end. So you'll be driving the asphalt and you're in like already an incredibly remote area. So you step 5 feet off the trail and you're in a thick wilderness. So it's like you don't even have to go that far.
Yeah. That's what he was telling me. And I go, okay, I'm trusting you, you know.
Yeah, no, believe me, I mean, our buddy Kip Morrill, he goes up there every summer with like a whole camper and basically sets up there for like 2 weeks in a giant RV camper setup. So, you know, you're just in a remote area, but you just do got to be careful, because last summer when I was out there at Bluff Creek, 5 different tires were destroyed by the roads out there on like 5 different vehicles. So it was, yeah, my buddy Jonathan Easley, his RAV4 luckily did not lose a tire. RAV4 power, right?
The RAV4 power, because even those West Virginia roads, they are not.
Yeah, there was. Oh my gosh,
roads.
Yeah, there were some spots where we got. I think, and it was one of the last days when we were going to the hotel. Like I was saying, it was like at the end of the trip, right before we went up to Jersey. These guys were in the hotel, and I was like, I still want to go up to the mountains. We were in Winchester. What's the name of it? Harrisonburg, Virginia. And I'm like, it's an hour to get up to this really cool road that's up in the mountains. And me and my brother are like, screw it, let's go up there. And we drive up there.
You know why? Because you were feeling so good, because we
had showered.
I had a Planet Fitness Platinum pass, so I could use any Planet Fitness in America.
So we went and showered up
at Planet Fitness and use the showers.
We got Panda Express. That was Brian's first time trying it. Very good.
So
and I'm like, let's drive up to the mountains. But did we go up there? And my brother and I started driving down this road to get to this lake. And, you know, the RAV4 doesn't have great clearance. And I've got a hitch on the back of mine that I had from when I went to Alaska, so I could hitch gas on the back and not have it in the vehicle, because they don't make it easy on the modern RAV4s to have attachments. And this road we were going down, we started getting stuck. It was scary. We're like 45 minutes down this road and it's getting worse and worse. And we're like, dude, this is bad. You know, like we need to either turn back, because I don't know if we keep going. You know, we're like halfway down this road that goes to this lake. So we had to drive back up to the mountains, just how bad the road was getting. Yeah, you'll see the footage of that in one of the next videos, because it was crazy. So those roads are no joke.
I did not know you went through that. That's funny.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but we made it out alive.
No, we were sitting at the Panda Express, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, man, those hotels across the street look real good right now.
So David Rosti asks, are you fellas believers of Sasquatch or knowers?
Brian, that's all you, buddy.
For me, for me, I'm a knower, but I can't say for certain, but for me, yeah, I'm a knower. I felt a vocal that nothing else could make that vocal, and for me, I'm a knower. So, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had that like an experience like Brian. And, you know, what's interesting, I've known Brian for so many years now. Yeah, he didn't get into this because he was interested in Bigfoot. He got into this. He's like one of the 2 people that I always meet. It's either the people like me who they grew up on the stuff and they just became interested in it because they're curious. And there's the other type of person that's had an encounter and that leads them into, you know, the topic or doing research or whatever. Brian is in that camp. Whereas I'm much more, I've always just been curious. I'm pretty positive there's something out there. I mean, I've been to enough places in North America at this point. I've really been to a lot of really amazing spots. I've met some incredible people that are very credible that I have no reason to doubt are not telling me the truth. You know, like one of my recent videos I did was with this guy, Jonathan Wilk, who's somebody I've known for about a decade now. He runs a group called Squatchachusetts. Really funny name, but it's pretty cool. Here in Massachusetts, just south of me. And he had an encounter while he was a park ranger in the early 90s in Savoy Mountain State Forest, which is out in the Appalachian Mountain section of Massachusetts. He saw 2 of these things while he was just out doing his rounds, collecting garbage. And he was like in college at the time, and a very interesting encounter. And he's somebody that, you know, you can go see the full interview and determine for yourself. I mean, it changed the course of his life, and he, you know, basically started getting made fun of. But people in the park told him, hey, there's reports going back decades here in this area, and they had full notebooks filled with reports and stuff going back to the 1930s to the Civilian Conservation Corps. So I've talked to people like that and other places, people like former Secret Service agent. I've had down in Louisiana, I dealt with a guy down there who had an encounter out in the Honey Island Swamp. You know, up in Alaska, Area A, the property owner there, he's completely credible. Like so many of these people that I can think of off the top of my head, there's something going on. You know, a lot of these people, they're not doing it because they want the attention, right? And I know I've had a few experiences myself that I cannot say are 100% Sasquatch. I never claim that. Just weird that they fit the purported behavior, like the rock throw stuff, the wood knocks, the whoops. But I would never say it's 100% because I didn't ultimately see what caused it. So I'm pretty positive there's something. What it is, I have no idea. That's the thing. You know, everyone's got their theories, and obviously now there's a big, you know, woo versus flesh and blood, and you know, I'm more on the flesh and blood side. I know there's other weird stuff out there because I've seen UFOs and stuff like that, but you know, I think it's a different topic. So there's other weird things going on in the world, but yeah, that's, you know, I would say there's definitely something out there, but I don't know what is the origins of it, and you know, why it's happening, and why we're still trying to find the definitive proof.
Yep, for sure. Outback Orchard asked, "You could just pick from Luci's cookie info or what?"
If he did, it was only him.
It is funny because when Luca was down, and Aleks was asking him what's wrong, and my stomach starts gurgling, and I just said, you could hear it on Alex's video. It's the venison.
Oh yeah, he was joking around. I mean, I don't know, because we all had it, and
we all had
it. One that had
good.
That reaction, and I'm not one of those people that, you know, because like, oh, he got zapped or whatever. But it was just weird timing because it was after we heard that loud kind of crash, and you, Brian, you've been out with Luca enough times.
I was very unlike him to just sit.
He's not like that. Like right. He is, and he's not one to complain really. Like he's very calm. So it was weird. It was weird behavior for him, and he was not feeling well. And then he was like fine, but then he started feeling kind of ill again.
Yeah.
And it's not like he had to run to the bathroom or anything. He just was like, he said he got dizzy and nauseous. And,
yeah. So me and Luca ended up walking back, and
that's why they left. And in the video, you can see, I'm like, oh, we're gonna stick back here. So I don't know. I mean, we're just documenting what happened. Like that is exactly what happened when we were out there. You know, like take it or leave it. You know, I'm not saying it is anything unusual, but it was just kind of this is what happened while we were out there, and it totally could be from the food. Like maybe he just had a bad reaction. But I mean, that venison was delicious. Luci does a great job marinating it. We've had that stuff before on other trips. Like I even have some in my freezer still that Mike gave me from his take. He got 3 deer in New York, in Western New York last fall. So he's, you know, given me a bunch of the meat too. And so like, it's good stuff. I've never had anything weird reaction. Maybe it was from the plastic cheese, but you know, that's a different story. Somebody was complaining about it. Like, how could you ruin that with the plastic cheese? Yeah. They had no other cheese. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, that's part of all the fun is coming up with what you're gonna cook out there for dinner, because you usually have maybe a to-go little breakfast and then you have a big dinner, but you know, because you're doing stuff during the day. And
exactly
we're burning a lot of calories, so we want to we eat a lot,
usually more than we intake. Yeah, I mean, because this is the thing. Like there's such a big difference between like a car camping trip and a backpacking trip. You know, one of our previous videos we did was up at this fire tower we stayed at in New Hampshire. It's like an old fire tower of the Forest Service. You can hike up there, and it's cold up there, and so you want to pack as little as possible. So all we're packing is those mountain house meals, MREs, where you just need to pour water.
Yeah,
that stuff's okay. Like it's when you don't have anything else, it's fine. Yeah. But when you're car camping, you know, Brian can bring these delicious donuts from his neck of the woods and all these meals. Like we want to go out. Come on, we want to have some fun. And people complain, and they're like, oh, you know, you guys care more about what you eat and cook. And it's like, of course, wouldn't you? Like, you know, we want to make sure
after a rainy day, you want to have something good to eat.
Yeah.
So what the heck? I mean, people complain about the stupidest things on these videos. It's insane.
Oh, I know. I saw. I mean, you had a person comment.
Oh, I had one guy. I'm like, oh man, you are the one guy. You are the one guy. One negative comment, and it just he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop, and I finally just said, you know, I had to block him because he was just relentless.
Well, it's the YouTube experts who sit there
and that's what he was.
They criticize everything you do.
He was the expert. He was the.
And meanwhile, he had 18 subscribers and no videos.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
You know,
but again, it's like, you know, we want to have fun with it. Like also out there, we did 2 hikes. This wasn't in any of the videos because it was sequentially, but we had like a giant spaghetti and meatball dinner because we're trying to carb up because we're going to be hiking almost 10 miles the next day because we did that Chimney Top hike and then Seneca Rocks. So it almost ended up being 10 total miles. So you want to carb up the night before and really make sure you're ready. So again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the planning. Brian, he's just really good at like the camp cooking stuff. So he has so much stuff that like we'll prepare in advance. And, and then we'll just buy like some of the fresh stuff on the road, whether it's eggs or whatever we need just for like the breakfast and stuff like that. But there's a lot that goes into it. And, we like to enjoy it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people who are complaining are probably just jealous because they're eating something that doesn't taste as good at home.
We're having so much fun. We all get along so well. We have such a good group. I call them we're like the 4 horsemen, and then we got our pack leader. But we got such a great group of guys. We all bring something different to the table, and then being good friends to go along with that, and it's just we have so much fun, and we always say like after a trip we're like, man, you guys missing like we're kind of missing the grind of the road.
Every day something new, and now you're just at home and it's like the week goes by so slow, and you're like, man, that week in the mountains, even though we were complaining at the time because of the rain, it just went by so quick, so
well, that's
the fun of being on the road.
You went with Jay Birch, and he probably cooked you some.
Oh my gosh! That was probably I've told people that's like I ate better there than I eat some people's homes because Jeff knows or Jay knows what he's doing, obviously. So like, that was incredible. Like in the barbecue, and I made like a little mini cooking show out of when he was making these ribs for me, and it was just like I'm sitting there in camp, and this was after I had done like a 4-night, 5-day backpacking trip near Mount St. Helens area. So like I've been eating those Mountain House meals for 5 days. I was like, real food. This is amazing, and that definitely came in handy. Why did the thumbs up just pop up?
I don't know. That was weird. I've never seen that happen before.
I didn't press thumbs up. That's really strange.
I didn't press anything.
Who did that? I know it came up right on your. Anyway, we have also Dakota, who's also a cook, and they had brought their smokers out there when I went. So man, we had meatloaf. We had picanha. Michael from the Howler, who's in the chat. I don't know if he's still in here, but he made. Oh my gosh, we ate really good while we were out there. That's for sure. Let's see. I thought there was another question. I don't know if I let it go.
The trail cookbook from Tristan. I don't know, man. Yeah, people have joked around. They're like, you should do a Beyond the Trail cookbook. I'm like, I'm not that good at cooking. I just think a lot of times some of the stuff you make out in the woods, like I'm really good at breakfast and stuff like that. But you just bring the combined knowledge of different people and just make sure you have a good meal in camp. And nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So let's get to the good stuff. What all did you guys hear out there? Evidence? Any findings? What moments stood out or felt like, something mysterious?
There were a couple. Yeah. I mean, the first night camping, technically, we had that crash thud. But, as I said in my video, I think the guys had something happen to them too, where they were walking and all of a sudden like half a tree fell and it freaked them out. But they were able to go and find out the cause of it, and say, oh, it wasn't an animal or anything. It was just part of this tree just sort of fell out. So maybe that's what we heard that first night. Can't say, that's something I typically just put in the pile of like, oh, it's interesting, but make a comment about it. But I mean, it's not end all be all of anything. But we had a few nights where we had some pretty good knocking kind of audio, different parts of West Virginia.
I've got those if we want to hear them. If y'all
it's
out
like
there,
at 4 a.m. too. That's when it happened. Kind of weird.
Oh, really?
1:30 a.m., 2 a.m., and 4 a.m.
Yep.
I'm going to bump up that volume.
Yeah.
This was knock sound number 1 coming at you right now. Oh, you can hear that. I'm looping it. that was the first one. Here's the second one. So those are looped, okay? It's just so a single knock happened. But
so
then you have
headphones on, and that's the first time now hearing that sound with I had headphones on, but Luci had sent me those clips. But I feel like you can hear something after the knock. You can almost hear like a little ooh kind of noise.
Number 2, right?
That. After number 2, yeah, I did not notice that.
Oh, I didn't wear headphones listening. I just cranked up the volume on my app.
Well, because usually when I'm editing on my editing computer, I have it on the speakers, but like I'll put headphones on to listen to the spectrogram. But Luci had already sent me that, so I didn't even think to like really look through it. But anyway.
Now we hear it again. Okay, so let's listen to that again. This is number 2. Huh.
Yeah, I heard that faint.
It's like a weird.
Yeah, very faint.
Far off. It is
that is
far
strange.
off.
I didn't hear that. Yeah.
That is weird. I hear it now. Every time.
So
look at that. What we're catching on Sasquatch.
And there was like number 3, right?
And then you have the triple.
Yes.
It's like 4 though.
Yeah.
It could be. Problem is you can hear wind blowing on the recorder towards the end.
It's interesting. But that wind keeps up right.
And that one you can hear the rain too, because it was on and off raining that whole night too. So.
Yeah. Now the other interesting thing happened was kind of like a high pitch. Well, not that high pitch, like a scream or a.
That was weird. Yeah, that's something I noticed. It's funny because I was finishing this video up. Brian, do you remember what was it like? I want to say it was like Wednesday night.
Oh God, it was. I think it was Thursday, Alex.
Well, technically Thursday. Yeah, so I was finishing up this video, and like once I finish them up, I just kind of like go through all the audio, make sure everything like there's nothing that's crazy high volume. I kind of it's like an hour-long video, so that takes me a while to go through all this. And I'm just looking through this clip that I just put in there, which was me spraying the scent away like hunting spray all over my saddle hunting stand when I was setting it up. And I put it down, and you hear this like weird, like kind of like scream.
Yeah. So I've got that clip.
Yeah. Let's play that.
And so when you're watching this clip, everybody, right when Aleks puts the deer spray or the cover-up spray, whatever it's called, on the tree, he puts it like that. That's immediately when the sound happens. Okay. So just so you know when to start.
Through this stuff here. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's and the more I turn it up, the more I'm like, wow.
I listened to this so many times that it gave me the feeling of something, of an animal, okay, that I've heard. Not complete, but when I heard it over and over, it sounded like the tail end of a peacock. Okay.
They make some weird noises. Yeah.
Make some weird noises. And I know everybody's like a peacock out there. And just for shits and giggles, I looked up peacocks in West Virginia. And guess what? There are.
Well, I'll be damned.
Now, they can be found in West Virginia, particularly in the new Rindabon Sanctuary, which turns out to be about 130 miles from where you guys were. But there are some wild ones that have gotten away from the sanctuary, I guess.
Yeah.
And let me see. I'm gonna take this off, and we're gonna Share. What do I want to share? This one, this one. It'll pop up. There it is. Okay, so it's called the Peacock Walk. And the new Rindabon area in, oh, did I write down the name of the place? I don't think I did. Let me see if it's going to say it here. Oh, here we go. Moundsville, West Virginia.
Oh, I see. That's up in the Panhandle. That's like near
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. That's near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah, very far from where we were.
Yeah. So it was a little while. I don't know if this one is showing. Did it pop up yet? Let me see. No, I have to change it. So I was like, oh, that's kind of far. That is kind of far away. But
I mean, they can fly, right? I don't know much about peacocks.
they kind of fly kind of like a chicken. You know, they can do small.
They do like a turkey fly kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Not. So see, you guys were quite far away compared.
We're by Dolly Sods. If you look at Dolly Sods, we were kind of like south of Dolly Sods.
I took this from Blackwater Falls.
Okay, so we were like an hour southeast of Blackwater Falls. We were close to Smoke Hole Caverns near Dolly Sods, which is like, if you zoom in on the map, you see that dark spot that's like to the south of the yeah, that's no, further up.
Oh,
it's like super small on my screen, so I can barely see it. But
yeah,
it's a big, Dolly Sods is like the big wilderness area. Yeah, it's right there. So we were like on the south side of that.
So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then, you know, I looked at it more and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm saying. You know, maybe it was just.
I mean, you never know. West Virginia, there's all kinds of weird stuff. What we thought was weird was that none of us in the moment heard this. Like none of us we didn't react. And because I was like thinking to myself, because I found this, it's like 1 a.m. So I'm talking to Luci about it. I sent Brian a message about it. He was probably already sleeping then. Because I'm like, you know, we're trying to figure out, because in the video clip you can see at the end there were 6 of us there in where we were camped. Like we were in an area, and again we got locked in. Like that's how, you know, unaccessible the area was. We were locked in behind a gate. But we had 5 of us there that were right around where I was setting up the tree stand, and you had Chewie as well, who was with us, and then we had one other person. She was at camp sleeping, taking a nap. Really weird for her to make like a scream like that. We can't 100% rule out people, of course, because there are private properties. There's like a wilderness camp, but on the other side, like from where we were, so I don't know how far the sound would travel up there. But I'm pretty confident in saying that it wasn't any of us. Like if there was a person screaming, it was not our group. You know, could there have been some weirdo out there? I guess. But I think as we were all talking and we were all like crunching on those leaves and it's super dry. And for whatever reason, the camera just picked it up. And this is not the first time I've had this happen, or, you know, a time where I know people who have picked up weird scream-like audio that they didn't hear, that the camera picked up, but they didn't, because it's so easy to, you know, squash your audio as you're talking. Like, you know, there's been times in the woods where 2 people next to me hear something and I don't, because I'm talking, and I'm like, oh, of course.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate when that happens. Okay, I'm going to play it one more time for you guys. So listen close. Here it comes.
I can see this stuff here. Yeah, there we go.
It's just like a weird, like that's kind of what it sounds like.
It is weird, you know.
And of course, that was before Luci had like a audio recorder going, because he usually puts them out. You know, because we were just setting up the tree stand, because we were hoping to come back to that location then later on, and you know, do it like. I get that tree stand up in the, and I've done it before, like Trackway's seen it when we did it down with Matt Larson in Florida last year in the corridor. Like I'll set it up and I'll just sit up there for a couple hours in the tree, but I can really only do like 2 hours because it starts hurting pretty bad, because you're hanging in the tree basically. Like it doesn't feel good on your legs. Yeah. So yeah, you can be up there for so long. But it was just a weird thing I noticed. And, you know, as I said in my video, I'm like, we're not saying anything conclusive with it. We're just like, this was something that happened that was weird. So like, here you go.
Yeah.
And I'd sent it to some people and they thought it was pretty interesting. And they're like, if you can rule out humans, maybe it's intriguing enough that, but it's one of those things that ultimately you can't substantiate. So like, you can't really do anything with it.
That's a good question. We did do knocks that night.
Not before. We typically don't do them in the daytime.
Not before the.
That was just a totally random sound, like unprovoked, just happened to catch it on camera.
But he's talking about the wood knocks. The wood knocks we knocked.
Definitely did a few.
I had the bat and I knocked.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. Because I know obviously I was up in the tree. I wasn't knocking.
Yeah. So I did some knocks.
Motion like that is dangerous in the tree.
We stopped. It started raining. What, Alex? That late that night, it started raining, and that's when I left my Phasm cam out. It started to downpour.
It rained, and then we went out and did a night thing for a couple hours, and then a bunch of people, it started raining again, and Luci and I went out for like an hour, and we both were like falling asleep in the woods, sitting there listening, and we're like, we got to go back. And then just in the car, you just hear at night the rain hitting the vehicle, and we just assumed there's probably not going to be anything because it's such a crappy night. But Luci, upon review, said, hey, I heard some knocks. So can we substantiate that? No. Again, I won't claim it was definitely Sasquatch, right? No, we don't know, but it's just something that we recorded. And, this is the whole purpose of showing, stuff that you found out there and just documenting it. And like, that's what we were doing. We're not claiming anything else. That's just what happened. So you could take it or leave it. And, like Nikki, I love that you went and kind of did your own research and were like, hey, this sounds like it's reminding me of peacock. Like that's awesome. I love hearing that from other people, like their ideas. Cause obviously, we have an idea, but let's get, different minds, different ideas. So,
right. And
I always welcome that kind of stuff.
No, you weren't at the place looking at whatever it was making that sound. For all we know, it could have been a deer making a sound or I don't know, a coyote or something. The coyotes make 1,000 different sounds. Yeah. We don't know.
And it's not like it was a clean sound that like there's no other obstruction. It's in between me talking and walking. So it's not like a sound that you have a clean, so you just listen to it. Yeah, it's you got the crunching, you got me saying something as I put the thing down. So it's one of those things that's just circumstantial and you can't really do a lot with it. But
and it was one. It wasn't like double. It didn't, get followed up by another one. It was just a single.
Yeah. Well, we stopped recording after that because I had set up my the tree stand, and then we stopped recording and we walked back to camp. Like that's I was just trying to show the video of like, hey, this is me setting up the tree stand. And then I remember Luca got a random shot of Chewie sitting there. And you hear me in the background. I'm like, oh crap! Let me do let me spray it up with the spray.
Yeah, and we were all
I could see that we were all accounted for there. Like
and we're all shooting something different. Toby was taking pictures. I was running a time lapse of Alex doing the stand, so I had no audio through my GoPro, and Chewie was just chilling out after I shut his GoPro off, watching us. So it was unfortunate, but at least Alex caught it. So we got something to listen to.
Yeah. That always seems the case, though. I mean, that's what happened to me up there on the mountain in Mount St. Helens. The last night we weren't recording anything. All the trail cameras were out. And then something weird happened,
That's what happens. Yeah.
Something walked up to my tent and I don't know what it was, but you don't know what's going to happen to how you're going to react to something until it happens.
Right.
And I froze. I was one of those people who freeze.
It's just weird, especially because when you don't know it happened. Like I said, that reminded me the most similarly to my buddy Jonathan Easley of Western Bigfoot Exploration. It's a fantastic channel. One of my kind of best buddies from the West Coast in this topic. He has a clip like that from Bluff Creek where he was with a couple of the Bluff Creek Project guys. And I think Rowdy Kelly and like Jeff Kelly and a couple other people, there was like 4, and maybe even Glenn. I think Glenn, if he's still in the chat, I don't know if you were there for that. I think Glenn was there. There was like 4 of them they're at Louse Camp at Bluff Creek. And Jonathan said when he got home, he was trying to film a video of himself, like just walking through the camp and talking. And he put the camera and you hear this like really bizarre rah, rah, scream that he got. And on the camera, none of them heard it. But the reason for that, I think, is because the acoustics in Louse Camp is you have this creek running through. You can't really hear much unless you're at the edge of camp. So he captured another one of those things, and none of the people there did that scream, and there didn't appear to be anybody else there. So again, it's one of those things like, what do you do with that? It's
Right.
just a strange story and something you got, and you can share it and hope that somebody maybe has a solution or an answer. So who knows? Yeah, Chewie didn't notice anything on that.
Oh yeah, I still have that up.
So yeah.
Let's see what else. Tree. To a strange reaction to something you might have thought was a Squatch. Well, we're walking, and he definitely alerted to that whatever was moving off to the side of that trail.
And that reminded me of something that happened in New Hampshire when I was hiking with him, and I heard bipedal footsteps off the trail it was just such a shitty day, and it was my second day doing the Pemi Loop, Aleks. So there was not a lot of people out.
It's a very remote area. It's like
very remote.
Another wilderness area, like designated.
And it's not, New Hampshire is not a place that if you're a hiker, you venture off trail unless you're going to the bathroom.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you're not wandering off trail.
Not in a wilderness area. Like that, people don't want to get in trouble for stuff there.
And I'm about where this happened. I was about 5 to 6 miles away from civilization, so I was really out in the middle of nowhere.
That's just what you mean, just from the road.
Yeah, from the road.
And the road is like 15 miles from town.
Yeah,
so it's not like he's right on the edge of town. No, look up the Pemigewasset Wilderness area in New Hampshire,
and that's where and that's where I've had a couple of strange things happen. It kind of led to me actually meeting up with Aleks because of the stuff that was going on, and I was texting him as stuff was going on, and but yeah, Chewie has reacted to when I had a moose encounter. He reacted, and when I heard
that thing in October, remember that he reacted to that all night.
In October, which it was the first. And this is another thing about having audio out. As soon as you get to a location, because of what happened in Maine, we heard it was such a human-like vocal.
It was just weird because my brother was like, "Dude, there's somebody out here squatching, like doing a joke on us."
We're like, who is busting our balls out in the middle of nowhere off a logging road?
Yeah, we were up in
that humanish.
We were up in Western Maine. So it was like on the border of New Hampshire. This is one of the most remote parts of like the entire East Coast. Thousands of miles, millions of acres of woods. And we went to like this random logging road that we just wanted to camp at for the night. And like as soon as we got there, before we heard that vocal, like there was some large brush movement, and Chewie, remember he tried to I don't know if he tried to run off, but he was like onto something. Like
at first he wanted to run off before sunset. He wanted to run off.
And that could have been a moose.
It could have been a moose, but then he was fixated.
We hear this weird vocal that we're all just kind of getting ready to cook some dinner, and we hear it was the same crew. It was me, Luca, Luci, Brian, Chewie. That was like the crew. We did this 3-4 night camping trip from Vermont to Maine, New Hampshire, all this stuff. And this is one of the last nights. I think that was the last night. And we hear this weird vocal, and we kind of all look at each other like, what the heck? It was like this strange, like human, kind of weird. And, I do think it was probably a moose. It was the end of the moose rut, but it was just kind of caught us off guard for a second. And then we put audio out, but I've never seen Chewie act like that the whole night. He sat at the edge of camp, just sitting out there looking at the wood line, and he would move. Then let's say we had our cars lined up. He'd be at one side, and then like over the course of an hour, he would move here, but he was always like, he's usually hanging out with us, trying to beg for food and just, kind of being.
And it was playful. Over an hour. He was doing that.
Laser focused on the woods. And so I would go over there with him, my thermal, and just kind of scan, but I didn't end up seeing anything. But that's an area that, the next day we hiked around there a little bit, and tons of moose scat. I mean, that's an area that Maine has the largest moose population in the U.S. outside of Alaska. We're talking, upwards of 50 to 70,000 moose. So they're everywhere in that area. So, I mean, Chewie even rolled in moose poop.
Yeah, and we didn't, and that many moose that big, and we didn't see one. So, it's
frustrating because there's so many of them. Yeah,
but it just
that was weird.
Yeah, but it shows how easy something big.
Yeah,
can remain hidden.
700 to 1,000-pound animal can just skirt around us without us even seeing it, and we have
some people
high-tech thermals and.
people that live in New Hampshire never get to see they'll never see a live moose.
Yeah,
but they're everywhere. So
it's crazy. Yeah, I get them in my woods here on my property, and like every once in a while I get them on my trail cameras, and it's like hit or miss. But that was a crazy one because again that showed Chewie, and Chewie he's always on point. Like he's always, he knows there's deer or stuff in the area, but that was the most I've ever seen him like sustained, obsessed with like there's something out here, and he's like laser focused on it. Like he knows there's something there. His senses obviously are a lot more keen than ours. So he's aware, even if maybe it's not close to us, he knows like there is some kind of big animal right up in this, the hill above us. So yeah.
He's helped us a lot in the past.
That's why we love him.
A lot more positive than negative with the Chew Man. So
yes. Except when he runs off for a porcupine. That's the scary thing is when he runs off to try to get a porcupine. But
it's like, man, I'm like, he's starting to get old. I'm like, how much more mountain hiking do we have left? And then we do this hike in West Virginia at Seneca Rock, and we're just hiking up.
Oh my gosh.
The sun is almost setting. So you got this perfect sunlight coming down.
And this is a giant rock formation. Look up Seneca Rocks. It's beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful postcard, West Virginia postcard type of.
Like the most famous rock formation in all of West Virginia. Yeah.
And I look and I see like this
there's like a
shape at the top of this hill. And I'm like, what the hell is
we
that?
both are looking at it.
And it's not moving.
And it's like in the trail. It's standing in the trail.
Yeah. So Chewie does this little hop and he's just staring.
He's locked on, right?
And I'm like, oh shit. And by the time I said, oh shit, and we'll like leash him up, gone. Just like a
books it after it. It was a deer. It turned out to be a deer.
It's like this is a steep.
This is very
I'm like,
section.
He's dead. I'm like, he's
our
going
hearts.
off.
It was the scariest moment we've ever had with Chewie. We've had a few, but like, because by the time Brian and I realized it was a deer, because we're sweating our butts off, like trying to run up this mountain so we beat the sunset. Because once it sets, over the rocks. And we're like, the moment we see this thing, like, what is that? And by the time we realize it's a deer, Chewie's already chasing it. And he's gone for a good 30, 40 seconds, right? Like, and we're calling his name. And then we see the deer start running down the hill, no Chewie. And we're like, oh no. And I'm thinking like, this is about to be a recovery mission. Like, we don't know what happened. And then from up in the other direction, you see Chewie coming out like, I'm tired. We're like, Chewie. And it's like Chewie 0, deer 1. The deer like got the best of him, but I guess deer are his weakness, and like gophers and rabbits and stuff like that.
A deer and lower, he will chase. A moose or bigger, he is scared shit. He won't move.
He knows his size then. Yeah. Oh man.
Wow.
That was probably the scariest moment of the whole trip, honestly.
Oh shit.
That's the rock there.
That's it right there. I gotta plug in my computer. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we were hiking up to. So we would have gone to like the left side of it, because you can't get to the right side unless you're rock climbing. It's like insanely steep. But there's an observation tower up towards the left side of the rock there. So yeah, the hike is like a bunch of switchbacks.
Okay.
But it was a very scary
talking
moment.
About you. Yeah.
Giving us a heart attack there.
Chewie held up pretty good then. He did well in the rain and all that. He didn't get too cold.
The only negative thing is I had to smell wet dog for 9 days in the back of my rafts. But no, he's very good. He
doesn't complain much. Yeah.
No, and I think it's nice for us to have him out there. It's kind of our go-to.
Everybody loves
comfort.
Him, man.
We get the Chewy hugs. It's
yep.
It's great. It's really good. It's fun. Yeah, and Chewie loves it. Chewie loves
he loves attention too.
He loves the group. So
because we have so many new people coming and going like over the course of the trip. We have one of my buddies would come out for like a day or two, and then we had the Dodd brothers who were there for like 3-4 days. So we were all like, who's going to get the quickest Chewie hug? Because he'll come up in between your legs and just. It's like called a Chewie hug. That's what we call them.
Oh.
So we're seeing like who can, the one guy got it like within a couple hours, so it's like, oh, that's the record,
Yeah.
It takes a while to warm up. He'll bark at you if he doesn't know you.
Oh, wow. So we already talked about all those meals. We saw you cooking out there, but we had a good conversation about that. I'll kind of go through this one.
Oh, man.
Wildlife. What other wildlife do you guys see while you're out there?
A lot of deer.
Tons of deer. Tons.
I mean, that one night we were driving, we drove to this lake. Oh my gosh. I mean, that was a bit of a disaster, but we'll leave that story for another time. But we drove to this lake and we may have lost a tire in the process. And that's when I got sick on this windy road. It was a whole fiasco. But we had we were 2 cars. It was me, Luci, and Brian in one car, and my buddy Charles Kimbrough and John Dodd in another, because he has this thermal that you can mount like a magnetic plate. You mount it to a vehicle, and then you can attach the thermal and control it from your computer, and like it swivels and moves up and down. So you can just drive the road. So we wanted to put it on the Jeep, and but none of the Jeep is all plastic. There's no metal on it anymore. So the only car we found was John's Tacoma, and we're driving this road, and it was, oh man, that was a crazy night. But yeah, we saw so many deer. We're seeing like herds of deer in the woods in that area. It was crazy. I think almost every day we saw deer. Yeah. Deer, tons of birds. My brother's really into the birds. He's does a lot of bird watching. I bought him this little bird collar. So a lot of the video that he gets is all these little birds, and he knows, it's like a spotted tufty or whatever, birds. I don't know anything much about birds, but he's
I have so much fun with Luca in the morning because he'll bring his bird caller and we'll go off and he'll do his bird calls and we'll wait for the birds, and probably just good timing, but it's so
I heard owls on one of your guys' videos. There was an owl in the background.
Barred owl, yeah. Tons of barred owls. I mean, you're running them everywhere.
Then I think, Brian, on yours, you were filming I don't know if it was a hawk or something, and then another one dive bombs it.
Yeah, that was just perfect timing.
That was at Lindy Point, I think.
Lindy Point, in Blackwater Falls Park. Yeah.
Beautiful,
beautiful area. That's where Charles saw eye shine. So
yeah, there was we went because there's a lake there too, like a Class A sighting that happened. But yeah, I mean, tons of other animals. There's bears out there. I mean, one of the spot that we went to, and I won't name it because it's such a great spot, but it was one place we spent a couple nights at. When I was there a few years ago, I had put an audio recorder outside of my tent, in the woods, and I had a bear walking around there for a while, sniffing the audio recorder and messing with it. Certain people would probably look at that and be like, "Oh, it's definitely Bigfoot." I mean, I know for a fact it was a bear, just the way you could hear it grunting and stuff. But so that we know there's tons of bears in those areas too. But the largest animals you're going to get basically are bear and deer. They don't have moose. We have moose up here. So that's something we're always worried about up here in the Northeast, because that's a whole different threat. Luckily down there, basically bear, coyotes. You don't have anything larger than those.
No snakes, right? You guys don't have the eastern rattlesnake out there?
We do. Yeah. Some areas they're endangered. My brother actually almost stepped on one when he was a kid in southern New Hampshire. They are here, but they're pretty endangered, like the eastern diamondback or something like that.
Yeah.
I know in West Virginia they do have them too, but this was a good time of year. There was not any of that stuff out.
Nothing yet. They're still a little cold.
It was still real cold. I mean, we got snow in one of those places, so it was still pretty cold at night. And we had some days where it was really warm, and other days when it was just gross and very cold.
Do the bears in West Virginia hibernate, or do they do that thing where they're just semi?
I think they do. Yeah, I believe they do hibernate in West Virginia. I think when you get down to the southern part of Virginia, maybe into Tennessee. I know in Georgia, I think Matt Pruitt was telling me that the bears there don't really hibernate. They just kind of slow down. Down in Florida, the bears don't hibernate. They just kind of, I don't know if it's torpor or whatever it's called, the term,
right.
But they just. But in Florida, they don't need to. They just all year round they're active. But yeah, they do hibernate in West Virginia because, again, even a couple of weeks now since we went on the trip there, I was looking at some pictures from Spruce Knob. They got more snow up there, so they'll still get snow. They can get snow all the way into June up there too, just because of that elevation. Just like up here in the White Mountains, we have Mount Washington. There can be snow year round up there, and that's and then you go down 4,000 feet from there, and you're in nice, beautiful 70-degree weather. And you hike up and it's 30 degrees and wind blowing. Totally, it's a different world just a few thousand feet.
Right. For sure. Any lessons learned from this trip?
A lot, I feel like.
You guys seem to have something happen, but You never
Make sure
know.
Brian is like strapped physically to his GoPro at all times.
There's just I lose. There's always one thing I lose during the day, and it's always the thing I need.
It's true. It happens pretty often.
And sometimes it's the silliest thing. It could just be a lighter to light up the stove. Like sometimes it's just the silliest things. But that's what you take with constantly being on the move and car camping and going location to location. It's just making sure you're keeping your stuff in order.
You got to have a good system, otherwise it can be real tough.
Yeah, Aleks has a great system. He's got like bins in the back of his RAV, and he's got all different compartments with certain stuff in them. So I'm
just so used to it now because
he's the veteran.
And when I drove to Alaska, I had to have everything because I was on the road for over a month. I was like a month and a half. So I drove to Alaska and back. So I even had this like bin system I would buy from like Walmart where you had like shelves and you put that in the back, and one is a snack. One is for like toiletries. The other one, just everything is kind of, it still gets pretty messy because especially when you're car camping, you got to reorganize stuff. But I have a pretty good system in place. I know pretty well, but Brian is just like total chaos compared to me.
I call it's an organized mess.
I don't know about the organized part, but whatever you say.
I have to say, I think Brent's a little that way too, because it's just a mass of stuff in the back of his truck.
I tell you what, though, I didn't lose anything this
layers of stuff back there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like a Trackway. Did Brian have his jungle safari outfit? I think it was too cold for the.
Oh my God, I had flashbacks because Eric put out his Corona video.
Yeah,
and I see the clips. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Brian was a fun fact, but on that Florida trip, he was actually auditioning to work at Animal Kingdom. So he actually went off for a couple hours and went to Animal Kingdom. Was trying to get a job as a safari guy.
Well, that at least the rain kind of kept some of the bugs away for now.
Yeah, not too many bugs.
It was a couple days, just a little bit of bugs here and there, but really not bad. I mean, again, the weather was so poor that I think it's too early for them, luckily. But all in all, we had a really great time. I mean, weather-wise, like you don't really remember that when you think back on the trips. Like it just becomes part of it. But I don't know. We had a lot of fun. We had some weird stuff happen. That's always fun too. But
and we still have to look forward to.
Yeah, we still have a whole another half, and New Jersey.
Right. I've got multiple videos. I might even have to make mine into 3 parts because like there's just so much. Because we do 2 days at this other location, this cave exploration, and then I might have to have the 3rd part with the Virginia stuff too, towards the tail end. And then I've got this New Jersey thing for my Strange Places series. So it's like there's gonna be a lot more videos just from these trips.
Yeah,
between the two of us, and Luci's got videos coming out because he was doing his own thing, his own investigation into this weird Bigfoot video from near Maryland that he investigated. And so there's a lot, that is coming out of these trips.
For sure. And what's coming up after that? Are you guys going to Ohio?
I think I am. I'm pretty positive I am. Yeah, I'm going to the OBC. I haven't been in a long time, but I think I'm going to be going to that. But as for a crew trip, I don't know. We can't. We don't disclose that information. No, we have some plans, but I don't know. We have some unfinished business with a certain mountain that we needed to abandon on a winter hike.
Yeah,
a few months ago. That was like the roughest hike we've ever done, and we had to quit like 90% of the way there.
Oh.
It was rough. It was like, my gosh, let me tell you, like it was only a 2-mile hike. We were trying to do this winter overnight, and we were lugging 2 sleds filled with bundles of wood and our giant big winter hiking backpacks, and it was like 20 degrees out. It was superhuman up the mountain, just like pulling the sled, and it was one of the most grueling hikes we've ever done. And then it was getting too cold, too dark, and Chewie was sinking into the snow. There's like 3 feet of unbroken snow. So we're like, we're gonna have to call this. Yeah, no, we can't do this.
4.5 hours of just
4.5 hours of an epic gladiator style battle against this mountain, and then we had dumped all the wood on the side of the trail and sledded down the mountain and got the heck out of there. So we've got an axe to grind with a certain mountain in New Hampshire.
It's not a big trip, but it'll be a fun trip, fun overnight.
Yeah, we do other little shorter trips too, that like certain trips we've done, like a lot of times, I'm filming stuff for my STM videos, but we've done other trips too. We're just filming, like I'm filming stuff for my channel. Like that was that October trip I talked about where we had that weird audio. We go up to this really cool place in Vermont, this abandoned radar base. It's like the coolest place in the world. Not really like a Bigfooting trip, just cool, awesome place.
That's part of the thing, because you can find really interesting abandoned stuff out there. When you're just walking around, and that's part of the whole fun.
This Max Bryan reunion is like that's a dangerous place to be, man.
Bring your popcorn.
Yes, it is so entertaining. Oh my gosh,
I miss Max. I haven't seen Max since Florida, so it'll be good to see him.
Yeah. Oh man.
You guys are doing a great job, and it's a real treat to watch your videos. Top notch, gentlemen. I agree.
Thanks, Jonathan. Jonathan's awesome. Yeah. Jonathan said he's going to Ohio too? I think somebody was saying that.
Jonathan, are you going to OBC?
Cool.
I know Trackway's going. I know Matt. Yeah. I know Matt Larson's going.
Yeah, Matt, because he's in Kentucky. That's right.
Yeah. They got a camp spot, so I'll be joining them.
Oh, you were going for sure?
It's pretty positive.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
The only thing I'm debating is if Chewie's coming or not. My mother, I gave her the wrong date. I thought the conference was a week later.
Because they don't allow dogs in the
So
conference.
If I want to go to the conference, obviously she has to watch them. But if I just want to go with those guys and just do some squatching,
it's cool because like I've done the Ohio Bigfoot Conference once in 2019 and it was fun. But you can just go, like the lodge has the Bigfoot flea market or whatever where all the vendors are. It's on 3 floors. Right. You don't have to pay to get into that. It's just like the speakers you have to pay. And this year, Seth Breedlove is one of the speakers. So I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, let me go. And then so many other people I know are going. And Luci, he's going to be there too. And like all those guys, Matt Arner, the Pennsylvania crew that we know, like those guys are going. Yeah. So it's like, there's so many cool people going. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll, my wife and I are going to go. And, I haven't been in so long. And it's a fun place. Beautiful area around Salt Fork. So it's nice.
Yeah, Jen, I was thinking that too. When I heard you were bringing Baron, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just bring Chewie since I gave my mother the wrong date.
You guys will have to get a dog sitter.
I hate not bringing them.
It's weird, there's been a couple trips, right, where we have had to do it without Chewie, and it's just not the same.
It's not the same. It's not.
I think really the only one was the base, right? The first time.
Yeah, the first time we're like, oh man, we could have brought him. I would have slept on the bottom.
Because we were worried because there's these ladders you got to climb up to get into the base, and he doesn't really like being picked up for like a long distance like that. So we're like, but then the second time we went to the base, both the second and third time we brought him, and we just don't take him up to the top tower, and it's totally
fine.
Yeah. So
nice. I think that brings us up.
Oh yeah, Henry May. I forgot he's also part of the whole Sasquatch Experience crew. That's like Matt and Sean Forker and those guys. Sweet.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be fun, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Any final questions out there for the guys? Now's your time. So we're going to start wrapping her up here. Well, definitely you guys put out some quality work, and we really do appreciate that, and the way you approach the subjects. No, how do I say, false suspense, I guess, that really a lot of us don't want. We don't want all that sensationalism. We just want to see you guys out there, boots on the ground and seeing what happens. That's the best stuff. What's the meaning of life, Grasshopper? Is it 41? What is it?
Yeah, we just try to keep it real, and I think there's a lot of like the crew that we have, like we've been talking about so much. The show, we're all pretty much on the same page. So none of it'd be very out of character for one of us to suddenly like go crazy and just be like, oh my God, like this thing jumped out of the tree. You know, it'd be strange. Like we're all pretty level headed. No one has like over the top reactions to stuff, you know, unless we're very frustrated and like maybe a couple of GoPros get thrown and malfunctions. But that's a different story. Brian and I both know that feeling very well because
I don't throw them. I don't throw them, but there's at least one time on every trip Aleks throws his GoPro.
And I cannot tell you. So GoPros have become garbage. Brian and I, between the two of us, we've got like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. Every single trip, to both of us, these GoPros will have a battery issue, a card issue, this, that. And GoPros, the quality of them, I've been using GoPros since like 2013. The first models, they were great. And over time, they're just riding on their name brand now. They don't improve anything. They just put new ones out. They have the same issues. And I've said, like, I'm not getting GoPros after these couple I have croak. I'm going to some other action camera because these things suck. And yeah, that's why they get thrown. Sorry, not sorry, but worst battery life. Like, you know, you'll just
have to have the right card in these things because you can't buy the cheap ones. They have to have that V30.
Yeah, and it's like, but then it'll stop. You know, I'll do one time lapse, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore the rest of the trip, and it's like, okay, bro. And then Brian will have an issue. Like it's just constant. There is always almost every single trip. There's like almost every day.
Every day there's something.
So
I know you can have like 4 or 5 videos all perfect, and then that next one, it won't read it for whatever reason. It can't get to read it, and you're like, "What the?"
Well, you not alone in these frustrations.
It is.
You're definitely not alone in this frustration, man.
No, the leash is getting shorter with those things.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. Again, like we just tried. Ultimately, we try to keep it real, and we have such a good time. Like we'd be doing this even if we weren't making a video. Like that's. I don't think people understand. Like we're not just doing it for the video. Like this is stuff that we would do. You know, I probably do somewhere at least 1 or 2 of them.
I mean, Luca must. But it's funny when he throws it. It's like this silence after he throws it, and we all look at each other. We're like,
yeah, it's just oh my gosh, they're a real pain. Because I'm like, oh, you know, let's see if it actually is worth, you know, will it survive?
They're durable. That's
like
only
Lost Cryptid says they get too hot too. They get too hot. I got the cold weather batteries that supposedly are better in cold. That's total marketing BS. They suck just as much as the regular battery. So it's like, it's just, oh man, this is turning into a GoPro hate sesh. I apologize, but had to be said, I guess. Oh man.
Let's see what else. I think that brings us to the end of the chat. Thank you guys for coming on and sharing your little adventure with us, and we look forward to part 2 coming out. Are you going to do a part 2 also, Aleks?
Yeah, I've got a part 2 and probably a part 3.
You said you're going to have 2 or 3 things.
Just because I've got so much footage because we did this whole cave exploration.
The cave, the hiking.
I don't know. So there's so much. Yeah. And I found it was like you either do like a really long 3-4 hour video or you just break it up. I feel like it's just easier. 1 hour is what people are used to.
And then it's like, how much of the hiking do you want to show? If
right,
Sasquatch video. So I'm like, do I just want to do a hiking video and then just concentrate on the investigations, or do you want to put it all together and not have as much of the hiking and just brief? Right. So it's
you got to balance it out. You know? Yeah, because we've got different styles.
I put out all my trips, you know, all my falling down. You guys don't see that. Somewhere there's a whole thing of me falling down up there in Canada.
Oh man. Sometimes you got to include that. I know. I was going to say, Brian.
I keep all my falls in.
One of my favorite ones in my video was when we were setting up the dinner and like we had the little cook stove set up and all of a sudden it collapsed on itself. And Brian's like, cut, take 2. And I'm like, I'm leaving that in the video. That's
for real. That's so funny, man.
I told Brent, if you ever show that, I'm going to disown you. He goes, I don't even know if I caught it. It happened so weird.
Yeah,
like slow motion fall. Anyway, well, everybody, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys cut loose. There is, I think I did see that Steve was having a show tonight. So nice. You guys can go get your popcorn and get ready for Squatch DTV up next. And once again, don't forget to hit that like button and to share it around. I'm trying to get myself out of being shadow banned on YouTube.
Yeah, that's weird because I still put your name in and it doesn't come up. It just comes up with other Sasquatch like secret Sasquatch secrets like videos.
Away from 1,200. I'll be so happy if I can get one person to subscribe.
YouTube is
the algorithm is weird nowadays.
I know it's all weird, but as long as you guys show up, hey, we had a good time tonight and a lot of great chat. I mean, the chat was just
a lot of familiar faces as usual.
Yeah,
see
everybody. Good circle of people.
Yeah, hopefully see a bunch of you guys at Ohio next weekend.
Oh, that'll be interesting too. You guys record that too. All right, you guys. Thank you guys, and we'll see you all in the next chat. Good night.
All right.